Well, good evening, everybody. It's Bobby Harvey once again live at the station in downtown Ottumwa, Iowa for another live broadcast of Amtrak's station stop, the Westbound California Zephyr station stop here in Ottumwa. Today is March 23rd, 2025. We started the stream a few moments ago, a little after 6:30. It's a little blustery, kind of windy day. Not quite as windy as it was earlier today, but still pretty breezy. But as you can see, we have a beautiful, clear blue sky. Perfect photography weather. And a perfect scene, perfect view for our train that will be arriving shortly. Now, before I started the stream, I took a brief look at where the train was. They were 1 minute late departing Mount Pleasant, so they should be getting here right on time, or a little early. Typically, when the train is running on time, they get into Ottumwa about 10 to 15 minutes before the scheduled departure time, which is just a little extra padding that's built into the schedule if for some reason they encounter any freight trains or anything else along the way that they have to slow down for. They still have time built into the schedule to make it up and still arrive on time. But if there's nothing in the train's way, which is pretty typical if they're running on time, they will get here 10 to 15 minutes, sometimes 20, 25 minutes early. Scheduled departure time for the Zephyr here in Ottumwa is 6:57. It was 6:53 for many years, and I believe it was just last year they changed the schedule to 6:57. Not much of a difference, but so with the train running pretty much on time, it is 6:35 now. They could very well get here in the next 10 or 15 minutes. So when I came across the bridge on my way to get down here to start the broadcast, looked at the signals to the west. Of course, there's an interlocking to the west of us with BNSF tracks that we're looking at right now, crossing over the old Milwaukee tracks, which are now CPKC. There's an interlocking down there with signals, so you can have an idea of when the westbound trains are approaching if you're standing here at the station platform. And when I drove over the bridge earlier, that was about 15 minutes ago or so, the signals were still all red. That might change with Amtrak getting closer. Something else I've mentioned in previous streams is that BNSF has put in a crossover on the east side of the station, which is about a quarter mile away from where we're standing now, I'd say. Maybe a little further than that, but not very far. And it is also a signaled interlocking. So now you have signals to the east and west of the station. So if you're down here, you've got signals either direction, letting you know if there are any movements approaching, anything that the dispatchers line through. You'll have a really good idea of whether there's any trains coming. And I haven't checked those signals yet. I don't know with the way the lighting is, if I'll be able to see the eastbound signals. I'm going to step over real quick and see if I can see them. I can see the eastbound facing signal for Main 2, which trains typically run on Main 2. Going east. Not always the case, but most of the time they do. And the signals are actually dark right now. So that means there aren't any eastbound trains approaching anytime soon. The signals are lit down at the, what BNSF still calls it the IC&E RRX. And that's kind of a carryover from when the line was operated by the Iowa, Chicago, and Eastern, which was operated by the Dakota, Minnesota, and Eastern, which of course became part of the Canadian Pacific system in 2008. And then of course CP just recently merged with Kansas City Southern, almost 2 years ago now, believe it or not, in 2023. I'm pretty sure it was mid-April 2023 when they merged. So now it's all part of the CPKC system. but BNSF still officially calls it the ICDRX in their timetable. What that is the interlocking with CPKC. We'll go ahead and pan down there real quick. About trip over my scanner. There's the water plant. Kind of level out the camera here as we pan it. And now we're looking west, and it's probably get some more wind noise in the camera as we look west, but we zoom in down there, and you can kind of see the signals down there right past that warning sign to let passengers know they can't go past that sign on the platform. You can kind of see the signal for Main 2 down there, and that is the interlocking with CPKC, about a mile away from where we are right now. Very nice night, though it is windy. Hopefully you guys can hear me okay. I'll go through some of your comments here and say hello in just a minute. Still pretty level this way, so we'll adjust it just a little bit there. There we go. Very nice photography night, that's for sure. And as you can tell in the video, it is just it's windy enough that it's kind of moving the camera ever so slightly, but I've got my camera on my really heavy-duty tripod that I use with my actual video camera when I'm out here filming trains. And I'm actually filming for my video projects. The same tripod. I have a special attachment that I can attach my iPhone to it. So it's providing a decent amount of stability. I have a small, it's kind of like a selfie stick that also kind of transforms into a tripod, but it's only a couple feet high when fully extended. And that would not be doing very good in this weather. I actually used that little tripod for the first few live streams that I did in 2023, a couple years ago. I found out pretty quick that an actual attachment to fit on the real tripod is the way to go if you want to get any decent pictures. So that's what we're doing right now. And we're waiting for Amtrak. Probably be showing up here anytime in the next 10 minutes or so, providing they haven't met any opposing freight trains or following any freight trains. They were, I think, a few minutes late getting into Galesburg. 1 minute late departing Mount Pleasant, so they've made up pretty much any time that they've lost. They weren't very late coming into Galesburg, if at all. I think I saw them come in on the Galesburg rail cam at like 4:45. It was about the scheduled time for Galesburg, I think. All right, let's go through you guys' comments. There's quite a few of you watching right now, so. Roberto, very first comment. Hello, greetings. Welcome to the stream. Mark from Washington, he's watching. James from Hamilton, Ohio is here. Dakota's here. Scott is here from Buffalo, Minnesota. Home to the CPKC Painesville subdivision. And Joshua's here. He says he'd rather see Phase 7 painted locomotives for Amtrak. And we actually saw one last week. Number 79 was leading the train last week. And for those of you that may not know, recently we had kind of a whirlwind blizzard come through. Whoa! Mark just put in $9.99 in the super chat. Thank you, Mark. Really appreciate that. Thank you. That is very generous. Thank you very much. Jason's here. He says California Zephyr will be there in 9 minutes. So that was about right in my estimations. So anyways, thank you again, Mark. That was very generous of you. Thanks again for that. That's fantastic. Really appreciate that. But anyways, the news of late on the California Zephyr line, we had a very whirlwind blizzard last week. Ironically, on the first day of spring, Nebraska was hit really hard by the storm. The blizzard, I mean, it didn't really produce a whole lot of snow, only a few inches, but the blowing winds created blizzard-like conditions and incredibly ginormous drifts over the tracks in Nebraska. BNSF actually held the eastbound California Zephyr. I think it was in between Lincoln and Omaha. It might have been further west than that. They held the train, and then they eventually made the decision to tow the train all the way back to Denver. And Amtrak gave passengers the option of getting off the train and going to motels nearby, and then getting on another train later on, probably the next day's train or whenever they started running trains again. Or they also gave them the option to go back to Denver. And I think there were like 30 or 40 passengers that elected to go back to Denver on the train. Then I assume they just stayed on the train until it kept going east. And what they ended up doing was they held the next day's Zephyr in Denver. They combined the two trains together, and then they sent them on east. And that was, I think that was like right after that big storm. So it was Thursday or Friday last week when that happened. So the train was essentially double the length it normally was. And as a result of the one train not making it to Chicago, the next day's Zephyr was canceled because they didn't have a train set in Chicago because it didn't make it. And then I think there was another eastbound Zephyr that got canceled because that set that would have left Chicago didn't go out because the train was canceled. And I don't remember what day that was specifically, but it was only a few days ago. And here in Ottumwa, it was really cold. We got some snow, but not enough to really be a problem. I mean, it was pretty much a dusting is all we got. And it was very windy, but it wasn't, it was nothing like what they had in Nebraska. And even western Iowa got hit pretty hard by the storm. Around Omaha, Council Bluffs. I think I remember seeing on Facebook that Interstate 29 was actually closed for its entire length in Iowa for a period during the storms a few days ago. But that's all gone now. Snow is, from I understand, I mean, I assume it's all melted by now. Might be a few patches still in Nebraska, but obviously here it's all gone. The weather is well above freezing, even though it's windy. The temperature is in the 50s, low 50s. I think it was about 52 when I started the stream. So even though it's windy, it's not a cold wind. It's chilly, but it's not cold. It's not like bone-chilling cold. So I could stand out here with just, a normal coat for the early spring and be perfectly comfortable. But another thing I have going for me right now is the wind is blowing out of the west, so it's pretty much to our backs right now, which is also nice. All right, so the train is coming. So 9 minutes, Jason said, at 6:43. It's now 6:48, so we'll give or take. It'll show up in about 5 minutes or so, which is about what I estimated. So thank you to all the people that are watching right now. We got 21 people watching at this moment. Zephyr is approaching soon. Just a few minutes, most likely. and hopefully we'll be able to depart Ottumwa right on schedule at 6:57 p.m. Central Time. The neat thing about these streams is that people from all over can tune in and watch. Some of them are locals, others from not too far away from here, some from states away. And here comes the train. Amtrak's California Zephyr arriving right now into Ottumwa. So Ottumwa is a fresh air stop for the train, so we have passengers walking the length of the platform, stretching their legs on their journeys to wherever they're going.
You grab both the blue and the yellow, the blue and the, yes, grab these two.
And another neat thing in Ottumwa that I think they've just started doing again is that apparently you can check your bags from Ottumwa in the baggage car. Had some passengers come up right next to the camera here, next to the baggage car, to retrieve their bags that the conductor got down off of the baggage car. You can only check baggage at select Amtrak stations. Not all stations have checked baggage. But you can carry on 2 bags and 1 personal item if you get on at the station where they don't check bags. But apparently, they check bags here in Ottumwa again. They haven't for many years, but I think I noticed last year. Started doing it again last year, I think I noticed. So that's the warning whistle. Fresh air stop, they do the warning whistles to allow the passengers time to get back on the train. Get out of Dodge, or in this case, Ottumwa. Conductors walking the platform, making sure everybody's clear. Ottumwa is also a crew change point, so they're going to do a running brake test as they depart the station. Get up to speed, make sure they can stop without applying the brakes without fully stopping. There we go.
There's your runner. That was a good runner.
You might have heard on my scanner when they just said good runners. That means that the brake test was successful. They can release the brakes and continue on their way. The Amtrak's California Zephyr now clear of the station platform, heading west on to their next stop in Osceola, followed by Creston. And then, of course, Omaha, Lincoln, and all points west. California Zephyr departing the station here in Ottumwa, just a couple minutes behind schedule. So they will definitely, providing they don't run into anything else along the way, they will definitely be running on time and have the ability to stay on time for their entire trip west. So good luck, safe travels, Zephyr. Off they go into the west. They're approaching the Diamonds with CPKC right now. And as is the tradition for these live streams that I've started to do this year, we're going to keep the stream running for another 15 minutes or so, at least, to make sure that there aren't any other trains that might come by in the meantime. And talk to you guys in the chat, answer some questions, and just kind of enjoy this evening as it wraps up. Scott says, I like your show. Thank you. I enjoy doing this. It's fun. With the popularity of all of the rail cams that several YouTube channels do, of course, Virtual Railfan is the most popular. There are several others. A more local provider of rail cams, kind of in the Midwest, but they also have some cameras out west and east. Steel Highway rail cams. They also have a very large network of cameras. Most of them are in the Midwest. They actually have 2 of them right here in Ottumwa that broadcast 24/7, just like Virtual Railfan and a lot of these other channels that run rail cameras. They run 24/7, so you can tune in whenever you want and watch trains come through on all these different railroads all across the country, including this line, as well as the CPKC here in town, and many others. Some other ones that I subscribe to, there's one called, I think it's called Live Trains, that I think are live rail cameras, something like that. They have a very popular camera in St. Louis, and they also have one in Blue Island, Illinois, which is on the Iowa Interstate and the Metro lines. I think a CSX line passes there too. It's a very popular crossing. Yep, Christian, he just said Live Trains is the name of that channel. And there's another one called Southwest Rail Cams that I subscribe to. They have some cameras further west in California, Arizona, New Mexico. Those are some good cameras to check in on if you want to see the Zephyr and the Chief way out west. I'll give you a couple days worth of a heads up on the eastbounds if there's anything good coming. So we are here at the station. Amtrak just left a couple minutes ago. Now, it used to be that you would hear on the radio Amtrak clearing up their track warrant after running on track warrants pretty much from Burlington to here. Now they give up their track warrants as they come into the station because the crossover that I was talking about at the beginning of the stream that BNSF put in on the east side of the station, that is now the beginning of CTC going west. They extended it over to that new crossover. So now they give up their warrant once they come into the station, and then obviously when they leave, they're already on CTC trackage, so they can just keep on going at signal indication. I'm pretty sure that CTC goes at least to Halpin, which is one of the western interlockings around Albia, which is the next significant town west of here. It's about 20 miles. And then I think they might kind of hopscotch on track warrants all the way to Creston. And I think it's CTC west of there. Not entirely sure, but interesting, all the different forms of train dispatching. Obviously, CTC is the best. It's all based on signal indication, and the dispatchers have control of pretty much every interlocking. Makes things very easy for them and for the trains. Yeah, A-Train confirms that he's pretty sure that Halpin is the west end of CTC on this line, on the Ottumwa subdivision, which is what we're looking at right here. The Ottumwa subdivision is part of the BNSF main line, pretty much from Chicago to Denver. It's a very important rail line. Of course, it's very historic as well. It used to be part of the old CB&Q, Chicago, Burlington, and Quincy, more famously known as the Burlington route. Speaking of which, we have a Burlington route locomotive behind the Ottumwa station. And that's the old 3001. It's a 464 Hudson locomotive, one of 3 Hudsons that the Burlington route donated to stations along this line. There's another one in Burlington, and there's another one in Galesburg. And another one was also donated to the Illinois Railroad Museum. There might be others that still exist, but I do know of those 4, and this is one of them. Thunderbolt 1996 just chimed in. He says he rail fans around Pacific Junction. Of course, that, as he says here, it's a very big junction. 3 lines: Creston, Council Bluffs, and Napier. I hope I pronounced that right. Subdivisions. A-Train says westbound coal passing agency now. Well, we'll be able to see that. The stream should still be going by then, or Commerce Agency is only about 9 miles away from here. So Thunderbolt 1996 Productions, he's commenting on the different lines. Obviously the Creston subdivision, that is the line that goes west from the Ottumwa sub. The Ottumwa subdivision, which comes through Ottumwa, we're looking at right now, that's the stretch of the BNSF main line between Chicago and Denver. And the Ottumwa subdivision is the portion that runs between Galesburg and Creston, Iowa. Galesburg, Illinois to Creston, Iowa. If anybody watches the virtual railfan camera from Galesburg, which I do all the time, it's probably the camera that I watch the most when I tune into their channel. That is the eastern end of the Ottumwa subdivision. The Ottumwa subdivision ends just right on the east edge of the Galesburg platform. In fact, there's actually a sign that says entering Ottumwa sub, and the other direction entering the Mendota subdivision. The Mendota subdivision goes from Galesburg all the way to Aurora, and then from Aurora in, it is the Chicago subdivision, which is a very famous section of track, triple track main line running from Aurora all the way into Chicago. And that, of course, is occupied by Amtrak trains, 8 Amtrak trains a day, plus freight trains and numerous Metra commuter trains. It's a very famous line. So the Chicago subdivision, Mendota, Ottumwa, and then west of Creston, it is the Creston subdivision that runs from Creston. I believe it runs all the way to Lincoln. And Pacific Junction, that Thunderbolt 1996 is referencing, obviously the Creston subdivision runs right through there. To the north is the Council Bluffs subdivision that runs up to Council Bluffs. I think the Napier sub goes south down to into Missouri. I don't know how far it actually goes. It might go all the way to Kansas City. Goes through St. Joseph, Missouri, which is a kind of a fairly large, medium-sized city in between, roughly in between Council Bluffs and Kansas City along the Missouri border. I don't know if the Missouri River actually goes that far north where St. Joseph is or not, but it's in that region. Never been to St. Joseph. One corner of Missouri I've never been in. Actually, it wasn't until last year that I actually went down deep into the Ozarks to Branson, Missouri. The whole family went down to Branson, checked out some of the stuff there. That is a fantastic place. If you've never been to Branson, I highly recommend it. It is a very cool place. So much to do. Just a great place to spend even just a couple of days. But I could see spending a whole week in Branson. There is so much to do down there. And train related, there's also the Branson Scenic Railway that runs north and south out of Branson. It takes you through the Ozarks. It's about an hour-and-a-half ride. I highly recommend it. They say that when they take the train south, it's the most scenic, and sometimes you even go into Arkansas when they go that way. When we rode, they took us north, and I was kind of bummed at first because I knew that the northbound run wasn't as scenic because it's kind of wooded. The trees are really close to the tracks, but it was still a really cool ride, and there's actually a tunnel that you go through on the north end. There's at least one, maybe two more tunnels you go through if the train goes south. But yes, the Branson Scenic Railway is amazing. And all of Branson is amazing. When we got there, I mean, I didn't know if it, because I heard people talking about Branson for years. And, you know, I didn't know, I mean, people hype up these places and you don't know if it really lives up to the hype or not, but it really does. I mean, Branson really does live up to all the hype that people give it. I mean, it is great. And the motels are very reasonably priced because there are so many. I mean, there are tons of hotels, motels, resorts. in Branson. So even a nice resort or some of the timeshares and things down there, you can get really good deals on motels down there. And we actually stayed at it's kind of like it's like a timeshare, but it's more of a resort kind of place. It's really nice. So, but the closest I ever got to the Ozarks was Joplin, which is kind of on the southwestern edge of the Ozarks. I wouldn't really consider it the Ozarks. I mean, I suppose it is. It's in that region, but it's really on the edge. We actually drove to get to Branson. We drove through the Lake of the Ozarks and all the way down that way through Springfield and down into Branson. Branson is like the heart of the Ozarks, kind of the southern edge of the Ozarks as they go down into Arkansas, and it is amazing. I mean, they're called mountains, and they really are. I mean, they are mountains. Obviously nothing like the Rocky Mountains or the Appalachians or anything like that, but it's very pretty. A very pretty area of Missouri. Now, as far as Iowa goes, I've been to pretty much every corner of Iowa. Of course, there are several places in the state that I haven't been to, but I have been to pretty much every corner. The far southwest corner of Iowa I haven't been to, kind of around that St. Joseph area. Haven't been there, but obviously I've been in northwestern Iowa. Have been to Sioux City, and it's an interesting place. Got some interesting train things up there. They have a Milwaukee Road, the Sioux City Railroad Museum, which is in one of the old Milwaukee Road roundhouse and yards. Northeast Iowa, been through there. Actually lived, when I was a kid, for a few years, lived in Decorah for a few years, back in the 90s. That's a very pretty place. Southeastern Iowa, which obviously we're in right now, but the far southeastern reach of Iowa is down around Keokuk and Fort Madison. Been to Keokuk many times. Obviously, I've been to Fort Madison many times for the trains. And a lot of you have probably watched the virtual railfan camera in Fort Madison, as well as the steel highway camera in Fort Madison. People have suggested that I do some live streams from down there, and I probably will eventually, because Fort Madison is a great place to watch trains. The BNSF, Chillicothe, and Marceline subdivisions. Okay, let's go through some more of you guys' questions and comments before this coal train gets here, probably within the next few minutes or so. Yeah, Thunderbolt 1996 does say that Napier and Council Bluffs subs are track warrant control. And he's also been through Ottumwa on Amtrak. Now, Iowa Trains has a interesting comment. For those around Ottumwa, the grain train with Norfolk Southern 8100 leading allegedly has a crew on duty for 11 o'clock tomorrow morning. Currently tied down just west of 4 Mile Bridge on Main 2. So we'll get back to that in a moment, and rest of you guys' questions and comments. But in the meantime, our westbound coal train is approaching. Kind of a little bonus for still running the stream tonight here in Ottumwa. So bonus freight train coming west through the station now. bonus freight train for tonight's stream. Westbound empty coal train. As A-Train pointed out, ES44C4 and a -9 on that train, which is unusual for a BNSF coal train. BNSF tends to only run the AC-powered engines, full AC-powered engines, I guess, because the C4s are AC, they just have 2 fewer traction motors, so they perform similar to a DC engine. Obviously, -9s are also DC. BNSF tends to avoid those engines on coal trains because the AC engines do better hauling the heavy tonnage that coal trains are. But I'm guessing since that was an empty train, that not a big deal. But you see that from time to time. You see BNSF using DC engines pulling empties, just like that. So we got a bonus freight train near the end of our stream here after Amtrak. Of course, Amtrak left the station about 15 minutes ago. Closer to 20 minutes now, I suppose. So we'll wrap up the stream here by going back to our comments here. Iowa Trains commenting on the coal train with NS 8100, which is pretty sure that's the nickel plate heritage locomotive. Says they have a crew on duty allegedly for 11 o'clock tomorrow morning. It's currently tied down just on Main 2. Now, 4 Mile Bridge, I'm pretty sure, is that the Des Moines River Bridge? I think it is. So it's not very far away from here. Now, is that a westbound or an eastbound train? Main 2, it might be an eastbound, but, or excuse me, that's probably a what? Yeah, it's probably an eastbound. We'll see here. Now, back to Branson. Dakota asked, did you see the Titanic Museum? I saw it. Last night we were in town. I went to get a pizza at Domino's, and that kind of overlooks the Titanic Museum. So I saw it in Branson, but we didn't actually go to it. We were busy doing other things. But yeah, there is so much to do in Branson. I'd like to go see that. It'd be really interesting. And back to the conversation about where St. Joseph is. It's pretty much south of Omaha Council Bluffs, and it is indeed on the Missouri River. I think that's right where the Missouri River turns to go further northwest. Well, obviously it goes right along. Of course. What am I thinking? The Missouri River goes all the way, pretty much all the way up through, obviously through Omaha Council Bluffs, all the way up to Sioux City, doesn't it? Or is that the Sioux River? Well, the Missouri River does go up that far, at least. Gotta brush up on my local geography. Yeah, Mark also says that he's been to Branson. Great place to visit. And Dakota also says that he went there in 2021. Thunderbolt 1996. He is actually from Alaska, and Alaska has some great mountain scenery. Oh yeah, I would love to go to Alaska someday. Obviously to ride the Alaska Railroad, and also the White Pass and Yukon, which are the two railroads in Alaska. Of course, the Alaska Railroad is the most famous. It's one of the coldest trains to ride on, though. Probably not quite as cold as oh, what's the train called that goes up to Churchill in Canada? The Hudson Bay? The Via Rail Canada train? That train goes way up there. One of the furthest north points you could ever ride. The furthest north point that you could ride a train in North America. The Hudson, I think it's called the Hudson Bay. It goes all the way to Churchill in Canada. But yeah, Alaska, I'd love to go to Alaska. Yeah, Iowa Trains confirms about that train with the nickel plate engine on it is a westbound for Des Moines. Thunderbolt 1996 says that, I hope I'm pronouncing this right, Beluga Point on the Seward Highway is a good place to rail fan. I think down there by Seward is where they have that, that train and car tunnel that cars go through, and then if there's a train, then the train goes through the tunnel too. It's like a shared train and road tunnel. I've heard about that. Pretty interesting stuff up there in Alaska. Okay, guys, a little clock on the wall is telling me that it's about time to end tonight's stream. Got to see Amtrak and a westbound coal train as a little bonus here a few minutes ago. Thank you all for joining me tonight. Now, next week, trying to do these live streams every week. We'll see what next week brings, but tentatively, next week, I'm planning on doing a kind of a, what I like to call trains on the go. We're going to be filming from the car and going around and filming whatever trains we can film. About an hour, hour and a half or so next weekend, maybe. Instead of being here at the station the whole time. I do like doing these streams, but I also like going around and catching other stuff if there's any other trains in the area too. So we're going to try to end out the month next week and do one of those trains on the go live streams where I pretty much film from the car and we jump from location to location and see whatever trains we can see. So obviously we'll see what the weather does and what Amtrak does, depending on what I feel like doing, of course. We'll see how it goes, but that's what I'm planning for next week. And as far as my full-length videos, haven't started working on any feature-length productions since the Old Threshers video, which I just finished a couple weeks ago. If you guys haven't watched that yet, be sure to check it out. I have a pretty good idea what I'm going to start on next, but obviously I haven't started working on it yet. But be on the lookout for more news there as far as my feature-length productions that I make with my video equipment. And I'll let you guys know when I start doing that stuff. Yes, Mark just joined in. Mark T said he missed the Zephyr. But yes, as Dakota says, you can roll back the video and you can see it come in. It was about, well, it's about 30 minutes, 35 minutes ago. Roll back the video and you'll be able to see it. And obviously, once I end the stream, I will archive it, so you'll be able to go back and watch it whenever. So with that, folks, thank you guys for watching. Okay, Mark asked, when did it go through? It came in, I think it was about, yeah, Dakota says about 35 minutes ago. So if you rewind the tape 35 minutes, you'll be able to see the train. But again, I archive these live streams and post the replays, so you'll be able to go back and watch it even after I end the stream. So with that, we're going to go ahead and wrap things up for the night. Once again, thank you, everybody. Thanks to Mark for the super chat again. Really appreciate that. Thank you, everybody, for joining in on the stream tonight. And we will see you all next week for my next live stream. And I'll let you guys know what that will be when it gets closer. So with that, this is Bobby Harvey. Thanks so long from Ottumwa, and we'll see you next time.